First contact crisis. The massive view screen on the bridge of the EDF Intrepid flickered to life, revealing the vast emptiness of space punctuated by distant stars and the looming gas giant Kepler 738 bits. Admiral Maya Chen stood with her hands clasped behind her back, her weathered face illuminated by the blue glow of the tactical displays. 25 years of service in the Earth Defense Fleet had taught her that peaceful exploration missions could turn dangerous in an instant. "Status report, Commander Park," she ordered, her voice calm but authoritative. Commander Jai-Ho Park, her executive officer for the past 7 years, looked up from his console. "All systems nominal. Admiral, the exploratory fleet is in standard formation. Long-range scanners are detecting unusual energy readings near the fourth moon, but nothing conclusive yet." Maya nodded, her dark eyes narrowing slightly. Humanity had expanded rapidly since discovering the Alcubierre drive 50 years ago, establishing colonies across 12 star systems. The mission to Kepler 738 represented their farthest push into the unknown, a scientific and military expedition to assess the system for potential colonization. "Maintain course, but bring defensive systems to standby." "Something doesn't feel right," Maya said. Lieutenant Sofia Rodriguez, the communications officer, suddenly straightened in her chair. "Admiral, I'm detecting an unknown signal. It's not matching any human communication protocols." The bridge fell silent. In all their explorations, humanity had yet to encounter another intelligent species. There had been ruins, remnants of long-dead civilizations, but never living aliens. "Put it through," Maya ordered. The speakers crackled with a series of melodic tones and clicks that made no sense to human ears. Maya felt a chill run down her spine. First contact. This was why the military accompanied scientific missions. "Run it through the universal translator," she ordered, "and broadcast our first contact protocol message on all frequencies." The tension on the bridge was palpable as the crew waited. The translator's algorithms worked frantically to decode the alien language, comparing it against all known linguistic patterns. Suddenly, 3 massive vessels materialized from behind the gas giant's fourth moon. They were unlike anything humans had ever constructed, organic-looking structures with sweeping, crystalline protrusions that seemed to capture and refract the distant sunlight. "Tactical analysis," Maya snapped. Lieutenant Commander Ravi Kapoor, the tactical officer, responded immediately. "The vessels are approximately 3 times the size of the Intrepid, Admiral, detecting energy signatures consistent with advanced propulsion systems. Their hulls appear to be composed of an unknown crystalline metallic alloy. I'm also detecting what might be weapons ports, but they're currently inactive." Maya's mind raced. This was the moment humanity had both dreaded and anticipated for decades. "Maintain current position. Do not target their vessels, but keep our shields at maximum." The translator finally processed enough of the alien language to offer a rough translation. "Vessels in restricted space. Identify immediately. Prepare for inspection." Maya straightened her uniform. "Lieutenant Rodriguez, open a channel." The communications officer nodded. "Channel open, Admiral." Maya stepped forward. "This is Admiral Maya Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet vessel Intrepid. We come in peace as explorers from Earth. We were unaware this system was claimed by your civilization and respectfully request diplomatic dialogue." There was a pause before the alien response came through. "Human vessels, this is Commander Thrick of the Fresian Empire. You have entered sovereign Fresian space without authorization. Power down your weapons and prepare to be boarded for inspection." Maya frowned. Being boarded was out of the question. Standard protocol forbade allowing unknown aliens access to human technology. "Commander Thrick, we respectfully decline boarding but offer to withdraw from this system peacefully. We had no knowledge of Fresian territorial claims, as this is our first encounter with your species." The response was immediate and harsh. "Refusal to comply will be considered a hostile action. You have 1 planetary rotation to submit to inspection or face consequences." As the communication ended, Maya turned to her senior staff. Senior officers, conference room. Now, in the privacy of the conference room, Maya faced her team. Opinions. Commander Park spoke first. Their technology appears significantly advanced compared to ours. Admiral, if it comes to a fight, we might be outmatched. Dr. Elena Volkov, the fleet's xenobiologist, shook her head. This is a critical first contact situation. We need to avoid conflict at all costs. The cultural and scientific implications are too valuable to risk. I agree with avoiding conflict, said Captain Carlos Menendez, commanding the EDF Thunderchild, the fleet's primary warship. But submitting to boarding puts Earth technology at risk. If they're hostile, they could use our own technology against us or our colonies. Maya nodded thoughtfully. The Vresians clearly have an established empire with defined territories. Our arrival probably looks like an invasion force to them. She paused, considering their options. Dr. Volkov, prepare a comprehensive information package about humanity. Non-classified cultural, biological, and historical data. Lieutenant Rodriguez, transmit it to the Vresians along with a request for a face-to-face meeting on neutral ground, perhaps one of the uninhabited moons. And if they refuse? Commander Park asked. Then we withdraw, Maya said firmly. We're not starting an interstellar war today, but we'll leave behind probes to monitor the situation and establish a quarantine zone around this system until diplomatic relations can be established. As they implemented her orders, Maya couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right. The Vresians had appeared too quickly, too prepared, almost as if they'd been waiting. On the bridge of the Vresian flagship Eternal Crystal, Commander Threk's iridescent scales shimmered with agitation. The tall, slender alien turned to First Officer Zeril, their 4 eyes blinking in sequence. These humans refuse inspection. Threk hissed in the Vresian tongue. Their audacity is concerning. Zeril consulted the data screens projected before them. The analysis of their transmissions is complete, Commander. They appear to be a relatively young spacefaring species, only capable of faster-than-light travel for approximately 50 orbital cycles of their homeworld. Their technology is primitive compared to ours, but their weapons systems are surprisingly advanced for their development stage. Threk's crest rose in surprise. Curious, a species that prioritizes weapons development. Aggressive, perhaps. The cultural data they've transmitted suggests complexity, Zeril replied. They have a history of internal conflicts, but also show remarkable cooperation and scientific advancement. They claim to be explorers, not conquerors. Threk moved to the viewing port, observing the human ships. Have the Sovereign been informed? Yes, Commander. They advise caution. This is our first encounter with this species, and the doctrine of expansion requires us to assess their potential threat level before deciding whether to establish diplomatic relations or implement containment protocols. Threk's upper eyes narrowed. Something about this encounter feels wrong, Zeril. Our long-range patrols reported no sign of these vessels until they suddenly appeared at the edge of the system. Even with primitive technology, we should have detected their approach. Perhaps they possess stealth technology we haven't encountered before, Zeril suggested. Perhaps, Threk agreed, unconvinced, or perhaps someone wanted this encounter to occur precisely as it has. Unknown to either humans or Vresians, a small, nearly undetectable probe orbited the gas giant's smallest moon. Inside, 3 figures observed the unfolding situation with great interest. The pieces are in position, said the tallest figure, its voice a mechanical approximation of speech. The humans responded exactly as predicted, neither retreating nor attacking. And the Vresians are following their protocols perfectly, added another. Suspicious but restrained. The third figure, distinguishable by the complex apparatus attached to its head, manipulated a series of controls. The probability of armed conflict within the next cycle stands at 78.3%. Once fighting begins, Phase 2 can commence. Excellent, the first figure responded. The Nexus Collective has waited centuries for suitable proxies to weaken both the humans and Vresians. Their conflict will exhaust their resources while we prepare the final incursion. What if they choose peace? Asked the second figure. The leader's artificial voice carried no emotion. Then we'll create circumstances where peace is no longer an option. Back aboard the Intrepid, Maya received the Vresian response to her proposal. They've agreed to a meeting, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported, but they're insisting it take place on their lid vessel. Maya considered the implications. Counter-offer, neutral ground on the third moon, or we conduct the meeting virtually. Before Rodriguez could transmit the message, alarms blared across the bridge. Admiral, Lieutenant Commander Kapoor shouted. Energy spike from the second Vresian vessel. They're charging weapons. Shields up. Evasive maneuvers. Maya ordered. All ships, defensive formation Delta. Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from Commander Threk, Rodriguez called out. The Vresian commander appeared on screen, clearly agitated. Human vessels, you have launched an attack against our secondary ship. This aggression will not stand. Maya was stunned. Commander Threk, we've launched no attack. Our weapons are powered down as agreed. Do not compound your treachery with lies. Threk responded. Our sensors detected a missile launch from your secondary vessel. As Maya began to respond, a blinding flash erupted from the side of the Vresian's second ship. The explosion wasn't catastrophic, but it clearly caused damage. All ships, report, Maya demanded. Did anyone fire on the Vresians? The responses came quickly, all negative. Admiral, Commander Park said quietly, sensors detected a small object impacting the Vresian vessel, but it didn't originate from our fleet. The trajectory suggests it came from behind the third moon. Maya's eyes widened as understanding dawned. We're being played, she whispered. Then, louder. Commander Threk, listen carefully. We did not attack your vessel. Our sensors indicate the projectile came from the third moon. I believe a third party is attempting to provoke conflict between us. The Vresian commander's expression was unreadable to human eyes, but his voice carried unmistakable skepticism. A convenient claim, Admiral. We detect no other vessels in this system. Because they don't want to be detected, Maya insisted. Please, verify the attack trajectory independently. Before Threk could respond, Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, Admiral, I'm detecting a new transmission, origin unknown, broadcasting on both our frequencies and what appears to be the Vresian communication bands. Put it through, Maya ordered. The message was clear but distorted, as if intentionally disguised. Let the cleansing begin. The weak shall fall before the Nexus Collective. As the message ended, sensors detected multiple small objects launching from hidden positions around the moons of the gas giant, heading toward both human and Vresian vessels. Evasive action, Maya shouted. All ships, defensive fire authorized. The human fleet scattered as the mysterious projectiles approached. The Vresians likewise began evasive maneuvers and defensive fire. Maya reopened the channel to Commander Threk. Commander, we're both under attack from an unknown third party. I propose an immediate ceasefire between our forces and coordination against this common threat. For several agonizing seconds, there was no response as both fleets faced the barrage of incoming fire. Then Threk's voice came through, tense but controlled. Temporary alliance accepted, Admiral Chen. Transmitting defensive coordination protocols now. As the data streamed in, Maya felt a mixture of relief and dread. First contact had turned into first combat in a matter of hours, but at least humans and Vresians would face this mysterious enemy together. For now, all ships, she commanded, implement joint defense protocols with the Vresian fleet. Let's find out who's really behind this. The battle for survival against an unknown enemy had begun, and with it, humanity's first steps into a much larger, more dangerous galactic community. Unexpected alliance. The bridge of the EDF Intrepid shook violently as another projectile detonated against the shields. Admiral Maya Chin gripped her command chair, watching as the tactical display showed both human and Vresian vessels, forming a defensive perimeter against the onslaught from the mysterious attackers. "Shields at 63%, reported Lieutenant Commander Kapoor. "The Vresian defensive algorithms are helping distribute the impact, but we can't hold this pattern indefinitely." Maya nodded grimly. "What about our attackers? Any identification yet?" Dr. Volkov looked up from her station, where she'd been analyzing the incoming data. "The projectiles contain unfamiliar technology, Admiral. They're not just explosives. They're carrying some kind of data transmission package that attempts to interface with our systems upon detonation. Cyber attacks combined with physical assault," Maya muttered. "Sophisticated. Commander Park, status of the joint counter-offensive." "The Vresians have provided coordinates for what they believe are the launch platforms," Park replied. "They're hidden in asteroid clusters around the moons. Captain Menendez on the Thunderchild is coordinating the strike force with the Vresian tactical vessel." Maya studied the tactical display. The situation had evolved with breathtaking speed, from first contact to alliance against a common enemy in less than 12 hours. The coordination between human and Vresian forces was rudimentary but effective, with both sides quickly adapting to the other's capabilities. "Admiral," Lieutenant Rodriguez called out, "Commander Threk is requesting a direct conference." "Put him through to my private display," Maya ordered, turning to the screen beside her command chair. The Vresian commander appeared, his scaled face now more familiar to Maya after several hours of urgent communication. His secondary eyes were blinking rapidly, which she'd come to recognize as a sign of stress. "Admiral Chen," Threk began without preamble, "our analysis confirms your assessment. The attack trajectory originated from concealed platforms in the system. These platforms bear technological signatures of the Nexus Collective." Maya frowned. "You know these attackers." "We know of them," Threk clarified. "The Collective is a reclusive, highly advanced civilization that exists primarily in artificial habitats at the edges of known space. They rarely interact with other species, and when they do, it's usually through proxies or automated systems. They've never launched a direct attack on Vresian territory before. Why would they attack now? And why try to pit us against each other?" Maya asked. Threk's primary eyes narrowed. "I have a theory, but it requires verification. I propose a direct meeting, Admiral. Not on either of our vessels, but on one of the platforms our forces managed to capture. We need to examine their technology together." Maya considered the proposal. It was risky, but the alternative was continuing a blind battle against an enemy who clearly wanted humans and Vresians to destroy each other. "Agreed," she said. "Let's coordinate the capture of the nearest platform with minimal damage." 3 hours later, Maya stood in the airlock of a small transport vessel, accompanied by Dr. Volkov, Lieutenant Commander Kapoor, and 2 security officers. They had docked with a small asteroid-like object that had been identified as one of the launch platforms after a precision strike by a joint human-Vresian team had disabled rather than destroyed it. "Remember," Maya told her team, "this is both a first contact situation with the Vresians and a military operation against the Collective. Stay alert but diplomatic." The airlock cycled open to reveal Commander Threk and 3 Vresian officers. Seeing the aliens up close for the first time was momentarily disorienting. The Vresians stood nearly 7 feet tall, their bodies covered in iridescent scales that shifted colors subtly as they moved. Their 4 eyes, 2 primary and 2 secondary, were positioned to give them a wider field of vision than humans, and their 3-fingered hands ended in short, precise-looking claws. Maya stepped forward, offering the open-handed gesture they had established as a neutral greeting. "Commander Threk, thank you for suggesting this approach." Threk returned the gesture. "The necessity of our circumstances overcomes the unusual nature of our meeting, Admiral Chen. I never anticipated my first physical encounter with a new species would occur under battle conditions." "Nor did I," Maya admitted. But perhaps that's fitting. Nothing reveals character like crisis. The Vresian scales rippled in what Maya interpreted as agreement. Indeed, let us examine what we've captured. The joint team moved through the narrow corridors of the platform, which appeared to be largely automated with few accommodations for biological life forms. The architecture was angular and precise, with surfaces that seemed to shift subtly even as they walked past. Adaptive materials, Dr. Volkov noted, scanning the walls with her equipment. The entire structure appears to be continuously reconfiguring itself at the molecular level. They reached what appeared to be a central control chamber. Holographic displays flickered with symbols neither human nor Vresian could read, and a central pedestal held a crystalline object about the size of a human head. One of the Vresian officers, introduced as science specialist Krell, approached the pedestal cautiously. This appears to be a quantum computational matrix, far more advanced than anything in the Vresian Empire. Dr. Volkov nodded. Similar to theoretical designs our scientists have proposed, but we're decades away from practical implementation. Freck turned to Maya. Admiral, I believe I now understand the collective strategy. They didn't just want our forces to fight. They wanted access to our technology through these interface projectiles. Maya's eyes widened in understanding. They're technological scavengers. Instead of developing their own battle systems, they pit other species against each other and collect the data from the conflict. Precisely, Freck confirmed. The Vresian Empire has encountered similar behavior before, though never so sophisticated. Some species find it more efficient to steal innovation than create it. Lieutenant Commander Kapoor, who had been examining one of the weapon systems, called out, Admiral, Commander, I've accessed their targeting systems. These platforms weren't just launching attacks, they were recording everything. Every maneuver, every countermeasure, every communication protocol. Maya and Freck exchanged glances. We need to warn our fleets, Maya said. If they've been collecting our tactical data. Before she could finish, the crystal on the pedestal pulsed with light, and a holographic figure materialized above it. A tall, spindly being with multiple appendages and an enlarged cranial structure. Fascinating, the figure said, its voice eerily smooth and artificial. Direct cooperation between humans and Vresians. Our models predicted a 91.7% probability of sustained conflict. Maya stepped forward. You're from the Nexus Collective. I am Interface Designate Omega-12, a partial consciousness extension of the Collective Overseer, the figure replied. This communication is automated upon detection of platform compromise. Why have you attacked our vessels and attempted to provoke war between our species? Freck demanded. The hologram's expression remained static, but its tone shifted slightly. Attack is an imprecise term. We initiated information acquisition protocols. Your species possess complementary technological approaches that the Collective wishes to incorporate. Human innovation in weapons systems and power management. Vresian excellence in biomimetic engineering and quantum communications. By stealing it, Maya stated flatly. By observing practical implementation under stress conditions, the hologram corrected. Peaceful observation provides incomplete data. Combat conditions reveal true capabilities and limitations. Freck's scales darkened with anger. You risked lives and potentially interstellar war for your data collection. Regrettable but necessary collateral outcomes, the hologram responded without emotion. The advancement of the Collective supersedes individual considerations. As the exchange continued, Dr. Volkov quietly moved around the chamber, scanning different components and whispering observations to Lieutenant Commander Kapoor. Maya noticed their activity and maintained the conversation to provide cover. And now that we've discovered your methods, what does the Collective plan next? Adaptation is inevitable, the hologram stated. This iteration of the information gathering protocol has been compromised, but valuable data was still acquired. The Collective will analyze and implement improvements before the next collection cycle. Next cycle? Freck questioned sharply. You intend to continue these attacks? Confirmation. The collective requires continuous technological advancement. Your species will be monitored for future acquisition opportunities. Maya glanced at Dr. Volkov, who gave a subtle nod. Interface designate. Maya said firmly, inform the collective that both humans and Vreshians consider your actions acts of war. Any further aggression will be met with unified resistance. The hologram tilted its head in what might have been curiosity. Unexpected declaration. Alliance probability was calculated at less than 8.3%. Recalibration required. Suddenly, alarms blared throughout the platform. Warning. Critical system compromise detected. Purge protocols initiated. They're going to destroy the platform. Kapoor shouted. All personnel, return to vessels immediately. Maya ordered. As they raced back through the corridors, the structure began to vibrate violently. Sections of wall shifted and sealed behind them, attempting to trap them inside. The adaptive materials are working against us, Dr. Volkov called out. The entire station is becoming a trap. Threk activated a device on his wrist, and a holographic map appeared. Alternative route through this section. Follow me. The mixed team ran through increasingly unstable corridors as the platform began to break apart around them. Maya found herself running side by side with Commander Threk, both leaders covering the retreat of their people. If we survive this, Maya shouted over the noise of buckling metal, we have much to discuss about our mutual defense. Threk's scales flashed with what might have been a grim smile. Agreed, Admiral. I believe our governing authorities will find this encounter most illuminating. They reached the airlocks just as sections of the platform began to rupture into space. The human and Vreshian teams separated to their respective vessels, launching away from the disintegrating structure moments before it exploded in a brilliant flash of energy. 2 days later, Maya sat in the conference room of the Intrepid, facing the secure communication screen. On it were the solemn faces of the Earth Defense Council's 5 members, listening intently as she concluded her report. In summary, Maya said, we have established preliminary diplomatic relations with the Vreshian Empire following our joint defense against the Nexus Collective. Commander Threk and I have agreed to a demilitarized zone in the Kepler 738 system, while formal diplomatic channels are established. Admiral Harrison, the head of the council, leaned forward. Your assessment of these 2 alien civilizations, Admiral Chen. Maya chose her words carefully. The Vreshians appear to be an established hierarchical empire with significant technological advancement, particularly in biotechnology and quantum systems. Initially suspicious and territorial, they've demonstrated pragmatism and honor in their dealings once we established mutual understanding. She took a breath before continuing. The Nexus Collective, however, represents a significant threat. They possess technology beyond both human and Vreshian capabilities, and their ethics are concerning. They view other species primarily as resources for technological acquisition, and you believe they'll continue to target both humans and Vreshians. Asked Counselor Rivera. Without question, Maya confirmed. Before the platform's destruction, Dr. Volkov and Lieutenant Commander Kapoor managed to extract significant data. The collective has been monitoring multiple species throughout this sector of the galaxy, instigating conflicts to observe and collect technological approaches. Recommendations, Harrison prompted. A formal alliance with the Vreshian Empire focused on mutual defense against the collective, Maya stated without hesitation. Commander Threk is proposing the same to his government. Our initial analysis suggests our technologies are indeed complementary. Together, we may be able to develop countermeasures against collective interference more effectively than either could alone. The council members exchanged glances before Harrison spoke again. We'll need time to consider the full implications, but your initial handling of the situation is approved, Admiral. Continue building rapport with the Vreshians while maintaining appropriate security protocols. We'll dispatch diplomatic personnel within the week. After the call ended, Maya walked to the viewport, gazing out at the stars. The Vreshian vessels now flanked the human fleet in a protective formation, as they conducted joint patrols of the system, searching for any remaining collective technology. Commander Park joined her. Quite a first contact, wouldn't you say, Admiral? Maya nodded thoughtfully. Humanity's first steps into the wider galactic community, and we immediately find both an enemy and an ally. She turned to face her exto. But perhaps that's fitting. The universe isn't waiting for us to be ready, Jai-Ho. We have to adapt. The crew is calling it the Kepler incident already, Park said with a slight smile. They're proud to be part of it. They should be, Maya agreed. When the history of human-Russian relations is written, they'll remember we chose alliance over conflict when faced with a common threat. Her communication device chimed, and Lieutenant Rodriguez's voice came through. Admiral, Commander Threk is requesting to speak with you. He says his government has responded to his report. Maya straightened her uniform. Put him through to my quarters. I'll take it there. As she walked through the corridors of the Intrepid, crew members nodded respectfully. Maya felt the weight of history on her shoulders. What had begun with a terse warning? Caution, human war vessel sighted. Vresian monitoring posts had transformed into the foundation of what might become humanity's most important interstellar relationship. In her quarters, Maya activated the communication screen to see Commander Threk, his scales shimmering with what she now recognized as excitement. Admiral Chen, he began formally, then shifted to a more familiar tone. Maya, my government has authorized the creation of a joint defense initiative against the collective. They are dispatching diplomatic and scientific personnel to formalize the arrangement. Maya smiled. As is Earth, it seems our near disaster has opened the door to something remarkable. Indeed, Threk agreed. Our analysts are already studying the data we recovered. The collective has been manipulating species throughout this sector for centuries. Together, we may be the first to successfully oppose them. From enemies to allies in the span of 3 days, Maya observed. The universe works in strange ways, Commander. Threk's scales rippled in what she now knew was the Vresian equivalent of thoughtful amusement. Perhaps not so strange, Admiral. When threatened, intelligent life often recognizes the value of cooperation over conflict. That may be the one universal constant we can rely upon. As they discussed the details of their new alliance, Maya couldn't help but feel that humanity's place in the galaxy had been irrevocably altered. The stars were more dangerous than they had imagined, but they had also found friends among them. Whatever challenges the Nexus Collective or other threats might pose, humans and Vresians would face them together, their strengths combined, their futures intertwined by a crisis that had nearly destroyed them both. In the vast emptiness of space, that alliance might make all the difference.